Welcome to this 6-session series that will equip you to love your adopted or foster child well. My name is Susan Merrill, and I am the Digital Marketing Director and a co-founder of Family First. We have several brands to help you love your family well, and I would love for you to visit all of them, but find the one that's right for you. imom.com is for moms, helps mothers love their children well. allprodad.com is for dads, helping them love well. SusanMe.com is where I share a little bit about my parenting and marriage story. And then my husband, the president of Family First, can be found at markmerrill.com. And he shares a lot of wisdom that we have had to learn through this experience of marriage and parenting. In this series, we are going to talk about you and loving your adopted and foster child well. And I'm super excited about this. This is something I'm passionate about. I have 5 children, 2 of whom are adopted, and I have some really cool guests, one of whom will be with me through the entire series, and her name is Lauren Smith. She is an expert. So just to tell you a little bit about Lauren, she is the CEO of Finally Home Christian Adoption Services, which is a private agency here in Florida. She's worked for nearly 30 years in the child welfare system. She is certified in adoption training and provides family coaching, and she and her husband have fostered over 100 children. She is also the mother to 15 children, 7 of whom were adopted through the foster care system. So glad to have you here. She is fascinating.
And I'm so excited to be with you.
My other guest for this session is my son Grant. And we adopted Grant when?
12 years ago. I was 9, and then I'm 21 now. So
21, so I'm nearing the end of the course and super excited about that. In this session, we are going to start by talking about the motivation behind adoption and fostering. What motivates parents to foster and adopt, and why is that so important?
It's so important because it's going to impact both your expectations and the parenting style that you use with these kids.
And you know, people do have different motivations. For me, I had been a YMCA camp counselor as a teenager, and it was an underprivileged camp, and I just, at the end of the day, wanted to take kids home with me. And that kind of continued even after I was married. I would talk to my husband about adoption, and he was not interested at first. But after our 3rd biological child, I was told that I could not have any more children, and that's when God really, through a lot of prayer, started opening up his heart to that. But I am interested to ask Grant, because here I'd been praying about adopting for years. What were you thinking? Did you want to be adopted?
at that age, I didn't really know what adoption was, so I can't say that I wanted to be adopted. If anything, I'd have to say I probably didn't if I'd truly known what it was.
So here we were, and I didn't realize this at the time, already coming with different expectations. I've been waiting years for this, and he didn't really even know what it meant.
And I think that's so critical to know, because parents come into it and they're excited and they're wanting to help, but for kids, it's scary and it's different, and they may not want your help. So we have to really understand, I think, 3 critical things. 1, I don't have the power to fix any child who comes to me. I have the power to be faithful and to leave the outcomes up to God. One of the things I quote that so frequently, so let me say it again. My job's to be faithful. God's job is the outcomes. I can do faithful. I can get up every morning and do what I need to do. But when I start obsessing over the outcomes and I start getting disappointed that it's not happening on my timetable, I get very frustrated. So I think the second thing there I have to understand is that I'm creating an environment for healing. I'm not the healer.
Right.
I'm the creator of an environment in which children can heal. And the third thing is that I am always going to be co-parenting, whether it's foster care, whether it's adoption. My child has a history that will always be a part of their story.
And this was different for me because obviously I had biological children. I'm all they knew. I didn't really think through until we had Hannah and Grant that you had another life. And how did that make you feel?
It was frustrating. I went from having to take care of my mom to following rules from my mom, so definitely really frustrating.
So, in your situation with your biological mother, you were taking care of her, and here I was an experienced mother who was used to taking care of her children, and I was trying to take care of you,
Yes.
and that was conflicting because for 9 years you hadn't been in that situation. So immediately we already are coming at it from different perspectives.
Right, and how critical to understand that
Yeah.
so that we can have compassion for these
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, and I think it was important for us to talk about your biological mom, who was still living at the time. It was conflicting, and for me not to be sensitive about that and to understand that's a part of your life.
Exactly.
So, managing your expectations and going into foster and adoption knowing that you are going to have different perspectives on life, and keeping that in mind as you parent. It may be different than if you, like me, had biological kids. So just ponder that. What's your situation? What might be your child's situation? And try to, like Lauren said, faithfully execute every day, creating that healing environment, regardless of whether you have different expectations. So managing expectations, understanding where you're coming from, that was our first session. We're so glad you're here. In our second session, and I hope you're going to love this the way I do. I wish I had known about this when I first adopted. We're going to talk about the brain and trauma to the brain and how that affects our adopted foster child. See you there.